So you're thinking about running, but not sure how to take the first step. My name is Brian Patterson, and I'm here to help. Welcome to Brian's Run Pod. Welcome back to Brian's Run Pod, and it's me, your host, Brian. Now, in the second part of my chat with Travis Ireland, we now get into the weeds of his running career. We look at how he came about with the idea of creating a virtual running website / app and what his plans are for the future. Well, enough of me talking. Let's hear from Travis and getting back to running, a positive side of your life. So, I'm really interested about the app, the Run the World app, only because that I did an app for someone who had their own running community here. It's called the Bearcat Running Club. Very basic app, only because I was kind of into I was kind of self-taught iOS developer sort of thing. I don't do it anymore anyway, and you won't find it in the App Store anyway. But it was. So how did that come about? I mean, what was the idea behind it?
Well, it's a perfect segue. It flows on from my gambling addiction.
Oh, really? Okay, brilliant.
Yeah. So when I went to think about robbing that till, I went to the toilet, and this is a story I love telling because I'm so lucky that it happened. I walked into the toilet, and Robert De Castella, I don't know if you know Robert De Castella over there.
He's a marathon runner, isn't he? Olympic marathon runner?
So So he held our Australian record for 35 years of a 2:08 marathon, ran back in the 82 Olympics. And he was in the toilet. And as I went into the toilet, thinking about robbing this till, no money left, I simply looked at him and said, "Hey, I'm going to run this marathon next year." And I don't know why I said I'd never run further than a half marathon. I said that to him, went outside, got my mate to film that. So I was on film. I said, "I'm going to run this marathon next year." Went home, told my wife at the time what my gambling problem. The next day, thought, I've committed to running a marathon. I need something to fill my gambling void.
Yeah.
So I'm going to run around Australia. That's what I said to me. That's a perfect way to train and get ready for this marathon, which is a year away. So I'm at the marathon that day. I had a whole year to train. And I said, I'm going to run around Australia, get ready and do this marathon. The running around Australia was me just talking a bit of rubbish because physically I wasn't fit enough. I didn't have the discs, and obviously I had no money.
Yeah.
So then I thought, how can I keep myself motivated for 12 months? And if you look at any marathon program, they're 20 weeks, 12 weeks, 16 weeks, maybe 3 months.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah. So to shorten that whole story, I combined the two. I said, I'm going to train for the marathon and run around Australia, but I'm going to do it. So I then instead of gambling, I'd spend my time on the computer, and I created a 14,080 kilometre route around Australia. That's what I spent my time doing.
Yeah.
And I thought, I'm going to do this myself, but I'm going to do it virtually. And this is back in 2013 when virtual running wasn't a thing. So I didn't have any developer knowledge. I didn't have anything other than I had a database of runners through fun runs. So when the time came for me so it took me months and months to build it, and it was maybe October that I'd finished it. When I say built it, I brought a map. I had an Excel spreadsheet, and I put it out there, and I said to people, who wants to join me? I'm virtually running around Australia. And I thought I would get 20 or 30 people, my mum and dad. I thought I might get a few mates. And this day, it still amazed me. I had 759 people join me on running around Australia with an Excel spreadsheet and quite a crappy singlet that I designed.
Right.
That was it. So then on January the 1st, 2014, 750 of us all started to run around Australia. And that was basically a hobby. It was mine. It was
so would they send you, right, I did, I don't know, 5 kilometers on so-and-so, and then can you log me or that kind of thing? Really?
That's exactly how it started. Yep. Yeah. So my first week of results, because I did it weekly, it took me 19 hours to put all the data. And that was
oh my gosh,
a mind-numbing process.
Yeah.
And that's when I thought I can't do this. And I built a basic website then, and they could put it themselves.
Yeah.
And that's where it started. So it was a website. It was a hobby. I still had my company at the time. I was still the recovering gambler that had to make money through work.
Yeah.
And what I did do was charge people $50. So it was like an entry fee. So
right.
They paid to do this, and I gave them a singlet, and we were all part of this journey. It was like a fun run, I guess, and we were all starting on January the 1st. We all started at the same time, and it was a matter of who could go the quickest.
Yeah.
And that's where it started. That's how Run the World. It was Run Down Under. Back then, I only had one map. It was Australia.
Yeah.
Called Run Down Under, and that's how it started. From walking out of that toilet saying I was going to run a marathon, through to the vision of me wanting to run around Australia, realizing that wasn't possible, then creating a hobby and something. It was for me. It wasn't for anyone else. It was me to fill a void, and made me realize that running needed to be a part of my life, keep me alive from the start, and take my mind off gambling and other addictions that might have popped in.
Yeah, yeah. What was it? Do you think that people, you like you said, you kind of sold this vision about doing this kind of virtual run? Why was it that you managed to be so successful in sort of like, getting people to part with their money and then getting them to participate?
Yeah, I often ask myself the question, Brian. I think it's just the novelty of running around Australia. So, and not having to worry about the logistics or anything like that. I think it was just a new concept of, oh yeah, hey, I'd like to take on that challenge. And this is also before, nowadays, 100-mile events, 200 miles, and they're a dime a dozen now. But back then, marathons were, in my head, I could be wrong, but in my head, marathons were you're a long distance runner if you ran a marathon.
Yeah.
So then to put something out there that was 14,000 kilometers, I think it was just a challenge that people thought, I have a crack at this. I'm going to try to run around Australia. I didn't know advertising, so I was word of mouth. I can only imagine that people said, this is a pretty cool concept. I want to try it. It was $50, so it wasn't like they were parting with their life savings. Yeah. I did get a singlet, like an event, so I did make it quite professional in terms of emails and newsletters. And when you got to a certain towns, you got a stubby holder or a stubby cooler to celebrate. So it was a more than just a hobby for them. And I think it was just the novelty. Like, that's all I can think of, the novel aspect of something that wasn't out there.
Do you think, just thinking about it now, is that obviously you had, if you kind of think about your life prior to that, when you had the gambling, and that took a lot of your space. And basically, in a way, this is another form of addiction. It's like it's taken up this space, but obviously it's legal. And you're not harming anyone. And if anything, you're having a positive impact for other people.
Exactly right. It definitely is. Addiction, it probably is the word, because it consumed me entirely.
Yeah.
And another story I had was I started to play games on your phone, like Candy Crush. I don't know if you Candy Crush.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
But I started to fill my time in playing Candy Crush, and I got addicted to that.
Yeah.
As a game, and I had to get myself off that. When I say addicted, maybe a month, but I'm playing. So I would spend every moment of not working, pay off my debts, was on this platform of Run Down Under, so Run the World, and it consumed me. But instead of thinking about gambling at night, I'd think about the towns I was going to, the map I was thinking, and it become an addiction in a way. And even now, I've been going for 11 years. It still is. I don't particularly like it, but it makes sense to use that. I'm addicted to it. I'm trying to get better every year, and I check the app every day. And as a personal use, but it's healthy.
Yeah, exactly. So that's basically that's kind of part of your personality. Is about part of who Travis is. Well, not wanting to use a better word, is like it is something that obviously you do have a kind of an addictive personality to certain things. Am I right in that saying?
100%. Yep. And it's also combine that with the competitive nature as well, and combine those two. I think it's a perfect. Even now, I'm 52 years old. If I go and have a beer with some friends and have a social beer, I'm fine.
Yeah.
But if I decide to go out and have a night out or a party, which I don't do very often, or maybe once or twice a year, I don't particularly have hot button. So I will drink.
Yeah.
Until I'm drunk.
Yeah.
And that there's no going home. And I want to be the last one out. I don't want to be the guy that went home early and missed something at the end. I want to be the guy that was there at the end. So that, and like I said, maybe twice a year now.
Yeah.
Not a problem at all. But that's sort of my personality. I have that definite fiction and competitive element behind if I put my mind to something, it takes a bit to stop me from doing it.
So from, you've got this massive spreadsheet, and then you said you broke it down into the website. From doing that, so going into an app, and I've seen the app and sort of logged into it as well, and it looks great. So what was the journey to get to that stage?
Yeah, I guess the long story is that I had a gentleman about to finish Run Down Under in under 2 years. This is a guy that ran 7,000 or 8,000 kilometers a year. And for me, that was mind blowing. I was not prepared.
Wow.
So I then had to build, and I was thinking to myself, I don't want this guy to stop and not run anymore. So I built a second map. And with that, I then built a website that had a web-based app attached to it. So it was very basic. It wasn't a native app.
Yeah.
They call it. It was just a web-based app. And the two of those were running quite successfully for a few years. And I then built more maps, and my provider at the time failed to update the programs that the website was on.
Right.
And I don't know the terminology. So one thing it's important to note is that I'm not a web developer. I'm the ideas guy that gives it to web developers.
Okay, yeah.
And they forgot to update whatever. And then it got to the point where I was on an end-of-life program, and I had to rebuild the app and the website from scratch.
Right.
Through necessity. And that's when I decided to take it to the next level. So the web-based app, simply 4 pages, leaderboard, map, profile, and that was it. So I then spent a year and a half with developers and built a native app, which is what you see today.
Right.
That's how that happened. So I was forced into it. And when I was forced into it, I thought, I'm going to take the advantage here to build an app that is world-class. And that's...
Oh, right. Yeah.
It's only new. It's only 6 months old, the new one. So I've still got a little bit of work to do on it.
Yeah.
But it is 1,000 times better than what it was. It's got hundreds and hundreds of functionality items in there, from leaderboard, finding friends and chats.
Yeah.
And everything you can do as a group.
Yeah.
It's still got the main functionality of personal aspects of seeing where you are on the map, seeing where you're on the leaderboard, having your estimated finishing, and everything in between. Come a long way.
Is there quite a significant cost up front in terms of getting the developers, getting them on board and that kind of thing?
Yeah, so I spread it. It took me a year and a half to build, and it was hundreds of thousands. So when I had to transfer the information over, my new developers looked at it all in the proposal stages. Said, Trav, there's 10 million pieces of data here we need to transfer across.
Wow.
If you think about it, since I started, I've got about 50,000 members on there.
Wow.
They're not all active. They're not active anymore. So I've only got 7,000 of those that are active. So people come and go. Like
that's a good ratio, though, isn't it? It's like a fifth, isn't it? Nearly. Yeah.
So there's just so much data. So all of those had. They're people that came on free trials. And one thing I am proud of is that my membership database, very engaging, not just that later, but that's how it all came about. That's the cost. It is expensive. It's amazing. And I don't have that developer brain. So I talk in a runner's language, give them the information, thinking how hard can it be to make a leaderboard for 7,000 people. filter through my age group, and then they tell me this coding is going to take months, and
yeah.
it all adds up.
Yeah. So believe me, if somebody's done it on their own, it is it's pretty hard. So
I can.
But what I was thinking is, in terms of the app itself. So basically, I know in developer language, you've linked with an API with Strava. That's right. So when you can, whatever runs you've logged with Strava, then it will pick them up. I know I did them, this week as well. But can you? I haven't spent a lot of time on the app. Can you do a run itself through the app and log the run through the app? Not a man.
Sorry, you can, but the app is not a GPS tracking device.
No, right. Okay.
So the only two options I have are Strava,
right,
and manual entry.
Right.
So
okay.
If someone doesn't want Strava, which is their call, then they have to go and do a manual entry, which involves opening the app, selecting the date, the time, putting in your distance, and then attaching evidence. So they might take a picture of their Garmin, of their Punto, their watch, whatever. They might put their parking result in there. They might have done a half marathon down in Dover, so they'll grab the results of that and attach the evidence proof. So Strava, obviously, I have the proof through Strava, so I don't need them to do anything. That's automated. And then manual, they just do it that way. So it's, to be honest, it takes 10 seconds. You get on there, you click through date, time, in 10Ks, and then attach it. Very quick. I'm trying to encourage everyone to do Strava. Strava's a free platform, so there's no extra. I do understand that Strava, but there is a manual.
Yes. And also, I know if you do, and I know I've used other transfer apps. If you do from one app, as I use Runkeeper sometimes, only because Runkeeper is better for intervals. Whereas I can't get my head around why Strava doesn't do intervals. It frustrates me. But anyway, I mean, I know, in terms of community, it's fantastic. But Runkeeper, you can set your own intervals. It's, if you get the paid version, you can have your own plan and whatever, which is great. But I know there are some apps that if you do, it will transfer the data from Runkeeper to Strava, and then obviously you'll automatically go to which is great. So
those people that don't have, so I'm not a massive Strava user. I like it for various reasons, but I'm not anywhere near an avid Strava user. I almost have it as just a middleman. So my Garmin for my program and my interval settings and everything. And then when I finish and press stop, it just automatically goes to Strava and then automatically goes to Run. So in my head, I'm pressing stop on a Garmin and it's then going to Run the World. I've got the free version of Strava. I don't need the technology paid version personally. I think the features are great. And it's just a middleman for me, Strava. It's a great platform to use. It covers everything I don't cover. So I basically am just looking at distance. So I like going to Strava to have a look at information I did and segment I did and friends did and so that. I like that.
Yeah. So what's the roadmap? If you can give anything away, but for your app in the future. So
I made a commitment last year to actually stop building maps because I've got enough distance there now for the average person to have a lifetime's worth of running. So I've got 9 maps. There's 8 advertised on the website, but there's a secret one that unlocks Australia. There's a second map of it. So I've got 9 maps and I've got 127,500 worth of distance. So in my head, I needed to have an endpoint. So last year I built my last 2 maps. I built Run the Longest Walk and Run East Asia. And I then made the decision to stop there. That's it. So there's an endpoint in terms of maps. And if you do your maths on 127,500 kilometers, you just simply divide that by 2. It's 55 years worth of running for someone that's 2,000K a year. So it's a lot of distance. So for the average person, maybe not going to get it done in a lifetime.
Yeah.
So I've got enough there. So there's an endpoint. And I guess now the roadmap is to enhance the app, and my next port of call is to make it a worldwide app. So I'm very prominent here in Australia.
Yeah.
Being based in Australia, I've got goals and aspirations to take it to other countries. When I look at the UK, for example, and have a look at parkrun, community and parkrun scene, and amazed by the numbers. I only just saw before I come in this podcast that 1,555 people at Bushy Parkrun.
Yeah.
And that's 7 times more members than I have in a whole year from at one parkrun.
Yeah.
So I've got goals and aspirations to become more prominent in other countries, like the UK, the USA. I see a massive market there.
Yeah.
So that'll be my focus. I've got a bit more work to do on the app, and I've also got, just between you and I and everyone else listening, some ideas around maybe creating a similar app for cyclists.
Oh, right. Yeah. Yeah.
A ride the world.
Yeah.
The only difficult there is, Brian, that I'm not a cyclist. I don't have the passion.
Yeah.
Right? I'm a passionate runner, and I find it easy to get up in the morning and run and talk about running and do everything at running. I don't particularly like riding a bike myself, so I'd have to get
a cyclist on board. Yeah.
Yeah. But that's also in the pocket.
Yeah.
Me to consider. I'm not 100% on that, but something to.
Moving on from the app, I know we've already been talking for about 40 minutes or whatever. That's brilliant. This pretty much is a podcast, I say, for beginners. What advice would you give to someone who is looking to start their running journey?
The best bit of advice I can give personally is find something that you enjoy doing. So running is so diverse. So when people think running as a beginner, they think I've got to go out and run on the road and do 10 kilometers. Find something that you love doing. It might be that you go and do a run club. It might be that you find a bush hike you like and you become a trail runner. It might be that you love the treadmill because you like going to the gym and the air heater or whatever. It might be that you love parkrun. It might be that you've all of a sudden got this appetite straight away to do a 100-kilometer stage race. It might be that you love music. It might be that you don't love music. It might be that you love to run because you get to chat to your friend, you take the dog out. Whatever of those options you find that you enjoy, stick to it. But there's no one's ever going to succeed in running if they get out and don't enjoy it. Right. I'm sure you've heard at the same time people say, "Oh, I don't know how you run so much. I hate running." And I say, "Oh, what do you hate about it?" I get out, I put my shoes and I run along the road and I've got to stop. And have you tried going for a hike in the Springbrook National Park and running where you can and so many aspects? So that's my bit of advice is, as a beginner runner, if you don't like what you're doing, try something else. And run club, a treadmill, this like I think I mentioned about 10 different. Find that and embrace it and learn to love it. Because I love running, and when someone says they don't love running, I find it. Then why?
Why? Do you go into the? Obviously, I know you probably talk to under runners who are sort of intermediate or beginner level. Do you talk to them about the kind of the technical aspects? So let's say, I've started running and, I've been out the door 2-3 times a week. I do my various, like 3 to 5K or whatever. How do you get them to sort of go to that next level, to either are doing interval running or tempo running or, fartlek running? All these are different terminologies which can sort of be very confusing. How can they help my running, that kind of thing?
Let's take a quick break.
Hi, Brian and Brian's Runboard listeners. I'm Merrily, author of Just Run. Just Run is the perfect gift for every runner or anyone thinking about starting running in 2025. In my book, I share my journey from barely hitting 3,000 steps a day to becoming an ultra runner in just a few years. A few months ago, I completed my first 100-mile race. Just Run is packed with practical tips for beginner runners. Running is for everyone. You don't have to be fast to go far. You just need to run your own way. That's what Just Run is all about. You can grab your copy on Amazon, including on Kindle Unlimited, or get a signed copy from my website, merilyruns.co.uk. Feel free to reach out to me on my website or through my socials at merilyruns.
Hey, this is Andrea, popping up from Sydney, Australia to say hello and to thank Brian for creating a forum which is so beneficial for those of us who are seeking a richer experience of running. If you're like me, you probably run for a host of reasons. These might include time alone, mental health, personal accomplishments, or maybe reclaiming a sense of self, possibly for the first time in a long time. And you might have noticed that the narrative around running is also changing. Until recent years, you probably mostly heard it talked about through the lens of metrics, things like getting faster, getting stronger, getting thinner, getting better, getting a spot on the podium. But thanks to voices like Brian's, more and more we're starting to think about running as a means to becoming a better person, to enjoying the morning, to achieving a fundraising goal, or maybe just making yourself proud. And if that sounds like you and you're interested in getting some coaching support for whatever your running journey looks like, I invite you to take a look at Run with the Slow Coach. I host a global coaching community for older, slower, bigger, injured, and back-of-the-pack runners. I'm fully accredited through Athletics Australia. I'm endorsed by the Australian Trail and Ultra Runners Association. And in 2023, I won a local business award for the most outstanding fitness service. I coach online and I promise to keep you accountable because I know what it takes to start a running journey, especially if you're not talented or you haven't been active your whole life. And I believe that runners like us deserve all the science, all the rigor, all the empathy, and especially all the support to safely progress to whatever your finish line looks like. And I'm really here for that. So find out more by following me on socials at Run with the Slow Coach or visit runwiththeslowcoach.com. I really am passionate about the life-changing benefits of being active. And I'm grateful to Brian for everything he does in this space. And now, back to you. Thanks so much.
Yeah, the first thing I do is, because I'm not a running coach, is I point them in the direction of. So if they come to me with saying, how can I take it the next step and go to a half marathon?
Mm-hmm.
I know the basics about incorporating one long run, slow runs, and interval session, but I say, find yourself a coach.
Yeah.
That's where I leave it. To be honest, I don't want to get involved in any more than that. I know what I'm doing for myself, but everyone's different. You know, if I sent someone out to go and run intervals, never run them before, they don't have the right shoes, they're on a track, grass, I don't want them to themselves. And when I say running coach, it could be something online. There might be a running program on that from a certified coach. You don't always need to pay weekly, monthly fee to a coach. I do encourage that. You get the best value and best advice and the best care.
Mm.
But that's right.
Yeah.
And
while you're there, download the Run the World app.
Correct.
Yeah. So you can do all your, see where your intervals lead you in all different parts of the world.
Yeah. Because it's interesting. Because like I said earlier, my app only gathers distance. So
yeah,
you and I went and did an interval session together, and I might have run minutes slower than you each kilometre. You might come out of that interval session with 8Ks and I might have come out with 7K.
Yeah.
Your kilometre pace might have been 5:10 and mine might have been 6:05. All I care about, you did 8K and I did 7K.
Yeah.
So we almost did exactly the same thing. Even though you were a minute per kilometre faster, your heart rate might have been a lot lower. Yeah. I might have been throwing up in the bush, whatever. We did almost the same distance.
Yeah.
So that's all I care about.
And I think that's the beauty of it, is that I know sometimes when people get wrapped up in all the statistics, steps per minute, and people talk about this 180 rule and what's my stride length and all kind of thing. But yours is it's kind of one dimensional. It's just one, you're just talking the distance, and you're going from, I don't know, the Blue Mountains to Sydney or something like that. I don't know. I mean, I'm, And probably people like that simplicity. Do you agree?
You would be surprised if I told you who makes up the leaderboard of my app.
Right.
They're generally retired men and women.
Yeah.
Have time to go out and so I'm called Run the World, but I have a lot of walkers. So a retired lady who's still fit and healthy at the age of 65 or 70 can go out and do 70 or 80 kilometers a week walking, and they might go out and do a walk before breakfast, then take the dog later on, and then they might walk with their grandkids in the afternoon, and next thing you know, they've done 15 kilometers that day. I've got some elite runners in there who do some distances that represent Australia and national, guy from Denmark who's the national champion, but predominantly my leaderboard is the slow end of pace-wise, but they do some kilometers because they either have time or they're...
That's right. Yeah.
You're very surprised. I know because I see them all.
Yeah.
Some others that it's names, but I know who they are and I know the effort.
Yeah. And it's so important, I think, from so many levels, mental health. I don't know, my dad has dementia, so when he's in the home, but the thing is that it's so, the benefits of being outdoors and moving. I think that's just the main thing, and I think that's what your crusade is about as well.
Correct. My parents are the best examples. My parents are in their mid-70s, and Dad is a gardener still, so he's active and he's always out garden and he mows a lot. He goes to Bunnings, he builds things. He's very active. My mum is a sewer, so she trim a lot.
Right.
My mum realised that she gets out and walks between 3 and 5K, maybe 3 or 4.
Yeah.
But it's my app and I encourage her. I have no doubt that it's making her a healthier person. Keep up with Dad.
Yeah.
And it's also good for Dad to see that she's getting out. And I love that. Yeah. Encourages people to get out. I'm a runner, so I use it for running and races. But to see my mum and other people like that using it for walking and for health, and then I know there's a plethora of people that use it for mental.
Yeah.
Keep them there. They're part of a community. They see the motivation, social media, there's integration, there's engagement. I have no doubt that it's mental health. Yeah.
Well, it's nearly coming to the end of the podcast. I know you did say that you did this Felix app, but you're not doing any more. Is that right? What was the thinking behind that?
Thinking behind was I had 3 young kids that were in apps.
Oh, right.
And on their computers a lot. And I thought I could create an app similar because I'd seen the benefit of Run the World for adults. Thought I could create something similar for kids. Very short story is I just couldn't get the funding for it. I was building an app at the same time. I just didn't have the money. I relied on government grants and sponsorship. I just didn't get it because I was in the development stages. I don't know over there, but grants are very hard to get if you don't have a product already. So because I didn't have a product, I just couldn't get the grants to fund it.
Right.
And I couldn't get the sponsorship. I couldn't get anyone to believe in it. And as such, I ran out of money. And also, that was maybe a 3-year project I dabbled in, and I got over halfway there with building it and everything. And then also at that time, my kids became older and my passion waned.
Yeah.
I'm a big believer in having a passion. I probably could have kept going with just a business in mind, thinking I could create a business out of it, but I lost the passion for the drive. And
do you think you might revisit it? Because I know it's something, I don't know, I can't help feeling that it's kind of a topic which will definitely come back.
I'm confident I will revisit it.
Yeah.
I will.
Yeah.
I don't know in what capacity. I don't know if I'm going to give all of that to someone else.
Yeah.
Or because there's going to be a time in a few years' time, if I don't do the ride, for example, I'm probably 1.5 years away from having Run the World established, and I'll be looking for something else. It's there. I've still got the copyrights. I've still got the characters.
All right.
It's very Australian based, so the characters are very Australian. I have no doubt that would be quite successful in other countries to be part of an app that like it is. It's still there.
All right. Just before we go, I did say I'd have a few quick fire questions or a few. So what is your favourite race?
I've become a backyard ultra.
Right.
So that's my new favourite race, is doing a backyard ultra. I've done 3 now. I'm doing another one this year.
Right. So what's that involve?
So it's a 6.7 kilometre loop, or 4.1 miles, I think, every hour on the hour.
Right.
So the race starts with, say, 200 people in the race, and you all go, and you have to be back in the hour. So if you get back in 50 minutes, you've got 10 minutes to rest, sit in your chair, eat, and then you go again.
Right.
And every hour on the hour that happens until you either can't get back in time, or you decide you've had enough, so you don't go and start the next lap, or your leg fall, whatever happens first. So it's become quite a phenomenon, particularly over here. We're the second ranked country in the world. So they just had the national championships, and Belgium won it. And we came second.
Right.
Just to the Americans that came third. And we've got amazing backyard ultra. So our number one Aussie, Phil Gore, he had the world record for a while. Yeah. And so I'm engaged in that. I love where it takes me. It's getting older. I'm not fast anymore. So the 6.7K in an hour is easy for me at the start, and then obviously it gets pretty hard as you get tired. So I like where my head goes. I like the social side of it. Everyone, when you get to lap 2, we're all coming equal first. You get to lap 10, we're all coming equal first. You start again. Yeah. And then people drop off. I love that concept.
And do you have a favourite sporting icon? I suppose, could it be Rob Casella, or are there others?
Interesting. My favourite sporting icon would probably be a rugby league player.
Oh, right.
Called Peter Sterling.
Right.
A halfback for Australia. Little fella. I met him once when I was a kid. He played for the team I follow. He just had something about him I admired. He's only small, tenacious, nice guy. He'd be my Peter Sterling.
And what advice would you give to your younger self?
Don't gamble. My advice to my younger self would be, ride the waves of life with a positive outlook. Yeah. So I let things get me down, and I'm afraid to say that some places would be dark places. Yeah. If only that young fella realised that everyone makes mistakes, and it's okay, and ride it out. My youngest, one of my boys, had some drug issues. And I sort of taught him that, mate, doesn't matter. We'll get over this. We'll get through this, and have more of a positive aspect. That's what I try to teach my young.
Do you think what you've gone through has made you the person you are today? I mean, I know we've talked about that because of your, you have quite an addictive personality, but the success of, the app and you building a virtual running community and that kind of thing, you've had to go through that.
Yeah. It's not so much the business. It's who I am as a person, which flows through the business. A creation of what I've been through. Yeah. The ability to talk, the ability to, I was at rock bottom and bounce back, and going through rehab, learning about my thought pattern. Yeah. So this person you're talking to now is vastly different than 30-year-old. The people I'm around now like me. I don't think they liked the old Trav. So what's happened to me has created an amazing, afraid to say it, I'm an amazing person in my own mind. I have to say that to myself. Yeah. I'm a good guy, and I've come a long way as a result of bad guy, stupid guy. So yeah, it's definitely those lessons. I've had a relationship. I lost a wife. I lost seeing access to my kids and their life as a result of kid. And it's made me much.
Well, that's fantastic. And we've had I think a wonderful chat, and you are a very inspiring person. And I just want to say thank you very much for coming on the podcast.
My pleasure. Thank you for inviting me all the way from the UK.
Yeah, I know. I still wonder, it's amazing that from, 12,000 so many miles away that we're able to connect like this. It's amazing.
I know.
All right.
Yep. Mate, okay. It's just dark here and almost bedtime, and
yeah.
Have to go and get your day started.
Yeah. So, okay. We'd just like to say goodbye. And as I said in the beginning, we'll probably be splitting this podcast into two. But thanks very much to all my listeners. And hopefully we'll speak to you next week. And that's a wrap for another exhilarating episode of Brian's Run Pod. Thanks for tuning in, folks. As always, we've got your back with all things running. And next week, get ready for some more awesome beginner hints and tips to kickstart your running journey. Don't forget, you can now send me a message. Yep, you heard it right. Brian's Run Pod has now become interactive with the audience. If you look at the top of the episode description, tap on Send Us a Text Message. You can now tell me what you think of the episode, or alternatively, what you would like covered. If you're lucky, I might even read them out on the podcast. Hey, if you want to keep up with all the latest updates, behind the scenes fun, and even some exclusive content, make sure to follow me on social media. We've also launched a shiny new Facebook page. Just simply search for Brian's Run Pod and give us a like. And don't forget to hop over to Instagram, where you can catch all our visual adventures at Brian's Run Pod. For those of you who love diving deep into the episodes, head over to our website, www.briansrunpod.co.uk, and there you'll find some detailed show notes and handy chapter markers, making it easy to navigate through your favourite discussions. Please leave a review, as it will help others find this podcast. Music is by Happy Day by Stock Audio, not forgetting artwork by Alice Patterson, and also thank you to my producer, Anna Patterson. So, till next week, thanks again for listening.